Hey guys, we're going to talk about solving one-step equations today. So I am going to walk you through a few examples, one of each kind, because we can have addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division to solve them. And we'll see how it goes. So our first example would be if I had x plus 3 equals 10. Now, I'm going to look at the variable of this equation and see what is happening to that variable. And when I look at it, I see that 3 is being added to the variable x. So I'm going to do the opposite of adding 3. And the opposite of adding 3 is subtracting 3. But whatever I do to one side of an equation, I have to do to the other. Now I'm going to do the math. So on this side, the positive 3 and the negative 3 cancel each other out. And I'm just left with x, which is exactly what I wanted because I need to isolate the variable or get it alone. Then on this side, I do my math, which is 10 minus 3, and I get 7. And that's it. Our next example is n minus 12 equals 40. So I'm always going to look at what's happening on the side with the variable because that's the side I need to get the variable alone. On this one, I noticed that 12 is being subtracted from the variable. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add 12 to this side, and whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. These two 12s, negative 12 and positive 12, cancel each other out. And I'm left with n equals, and now I'm just going to add this other side up. 0 plus 2 is 2, 4 plus 1 is 5. N equals 52. And that's all. So let's try one with multiplication now. What if we had 5n equals 30? Remember, when two things are written next to each other, it means multiply. So I know that the 5 is being multiplied by the n. If it's being multiplied, I have to do the opposite. That means I'm going to divide both sides by whatever is next to the variable. So I'm going to divide by 5. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Now 5 divided by 5 equals 1. So we can just leave that 1 as an invisible 1. So n is left by itself, which is what I wanted. And then 30 divided by 5 equals 6. So n equals 6 would be my answer. And we'll do one more that's division. So let's do x divided by 7 equals 10. So once again, the first thing I'm going to do is look and see what's happening with that variable. The variable is having division going on with it right now. So I'm going to do the opposite. What is the opposite of division? Multiplication. So that means I'm going to multiply both sides by the 7, whatever's on the bottom of that variable. Now, when I multiply, because there's an imaginary 1 sitting under that 7, when I multiply, there's also an imaginary 1 right here, I end up with 7 over 7 on that side, and 7 divided by 7 is 1. So essentially what's happening is these two are canceling each other out, and I'm just left with x, which is exactly what I wanted, which is why I multiply both sides by whatever's on the bottom. Then on the other side, I do 10 times 7, which is 70, and that's my answer. X equals 70. I'm going to show you one more division problem because there is a little twist sometimes, and I want you to know how to handle it. Sometimes you'll have an entire fraction written next to a variable, And let's say it equals, 9's not going to work. Hold on. We're going to say it equals 8. Okay? So when I have an entire fraction, I'm going to do the opposite. And I notice that the fraction is written next to the variable. That means multiply. So now I'm going to do the opposite, which is divide. But I know when I divide by a fraction, I flip it. Remember, keep, change, flip? So I'm going to flip it and multiply instead. So whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. These two end up canceling each other out. They equal 1. So x is alone now. And on this side, I remember that I have an imaginary 1 underneath. When you multiply fractions, you multiply the top numbers and you multiply the bottom numbers. So 8 times 3 is 24, and 1 times 2 is 2. 24 divided by 2 is 12. So 12 becomes my final answer. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.